If you have seen one of the million YouTube videos out there claiming you can make passive income on Airbnb while you sleep, then I'm going to need you to stay here for the next 10 minutes because what I'm about to tell you is the actual truth. 2026 is not 2018. And if you're still following a playbook that was written before the pandemic, before the rate hikes, and before every suburb in America seemed like they had a few Airbnbs popping up in every single neighborhood, then you are going to fail. But let's change that. As a host, the last thing I want to do is play accountant or banker. But that's what I was doing every single weekend. I was flipping through a bunch of apps, looking at bank statements, receipts, trying to match it to a specific property, and I didn't even know which one was losing money or even making money. But then I found Baselane, and it took all of that off of my plate. It's the official Bigger Pockets banking platform that automatically sorts my transactions, matches receipts, and shows my cash flow for each property. My tax prep is done and my weekends are back in control. Plus I'm saving a ton of money on banking fees and apps that I don't really need. You can get your $100 bonus when you sign up today at Baselane using the link in the description, and it's a game changer, I guarantee it. My name is Garrett Brown, and I'm the resident short-term rental expert at Bigger Pockets, one of the largest real estate investing communities in the entire world. I started with 0 units 6 years ago, and now I have 23 units between 2 different markets, and our portfolio does over $1.5 million in gross revenue every single year. But I do want to stop on that number for a second. $1.5 million in revenue. That is not the take home. That's not profit. That's what flows at the top of my business before expenses, mortgages, team members, insurance, and every other bill that comes with running real properties. I'm telling you up front because the gurus that flash these big numbers without a lot of context behind them are why people are getting into this business with the wrong expectations. I'm not that guy. What I will tell you is this. I know what works. I have several 1-bedroom cabins that are experiences that make as much money as a 5-star hotel bedroom in some of the most lavish cities around. That's what happens when you build the right product with the right marketing and the right operations set to it and run this like a true hospitality business mixed with real estate. And don't worry, I'm not selling a course or a mastermind at the end of this video. This is just true advice from somebody that does this every single day for the past 6 years. Let's talk about what has changed. 5 years ago, you could buy a decent house in a decent location, throw it on Airbnb with some iPhone photos, put up some okay linens and bedding, and you probably were going to make money. There was probably quite a few Highland cow pictures because you could do whatever with your units and they were probably going to be profitable for you. But that window has closed. The market is now mature, which means that there's even more opportunity out there because now you know exactly what to do to make it work. No more throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks. This is certified data out there now from a mature market. Here's what the market looks like now. Regulations have crept in almost every single short-term rental market that is out there. Cities and counties have watched neighbors deal with house parties and people turning grandma's house in the middle of Iowa in a random suburban neighborhood into an Airbnb when it really doesn't deserve to be an Airbnb. Permit caps have become a thing. Owner occupancy requirements have become a thing in some areas. And in some cases, outright bans have happened in residential zones. If you're buying in a market without understanding the regulations that are in there, you could be holding a property that legally can't even be an STR. And when I say STRs, I mean short-term rentals. A lot of people have become synonymous with Airbnb when they think of these things, but overarching, they're called short-term rentals for a reason. Guest expectations have also moved up very fast. Guests are comparing you to boutique hotels and other true operated Airbnb and short-term rentals they have stayed in that, let me just say it, they're probably going to be better than you if you don't understand the operation side. They've also stayed in places that know what a lazy setup looks like. A beige couch and a Keurig just don't cut it anymore to be an Airbnb that suffices for someone. They want a story, an experience, something worth posting, hopefully. And then there's the middle. And this is something you really want to hear. So lean in and listen up while I tell you this if you're looking at how to do Airbnb in 2026. The generic suburban 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in a neighborhood that nobody cares about or wants to visit is not a business plan in 2026. Unless you get a screaming deal of a lifetime on one of these properties, you are probably going to always break even or lose money with the operations that it takes. I see people buy these properties, the price point feels kind of approachable, and then they watch the first few months go okay, and they're waiting for their big break to come in with all these bookings. But then the bookings slowly dry up because there are 40 identical listings in that exact same zip code as you, and there's nothing that makes your property stand out. A lot of these properties would perform better as a midterm or a long-term rental. Not every single house deserves to be a short-term rental. I'll just be completely honest. When you go in the middle, you're not separating yourselves from hotels and other places people can stay. You either go full out on the experience, smaller cabin or smaller place, or you need to go with more bedrooms that will make you outcompete any hotels nearby because they can't compete with having a family all in one place and all communal spaces. That's where the win is. Either go big on the small side or go big on the big side. Do not get stuck in the middle. Let's bust a few myths real quick though while we're on this subject. Myth 1, Airbnb is passive income. It is not. Short-term rentals are the least passive form of residential real estate investing that is out there. They're an active hospitality business layered in with real estate on the back end. If you want passive income, buy index funds, buy stocks. I'm serious. This is not the place you're trying to be. Will those work out for you as good as short-term rentals could if you perform them properly? That's debatable, and I would say no. But if you truly want something hands-off, you either need one of the best co-hosts or managers that has ever existed, or you probably don't need to go into this path. But the trade-off for that is that STRs will produce more cash flow than every single type of real estate investing that you can think of and other types of investing, including stocks, if it's done properly. This is great for new people and people really trying to get their foot in the door of real estate investing. If you buy one long-term rental, it's going to take a long time to get the cash flow needed to go buy your next one just from that rental. And if one AC unit breaks out or anything like that, your cash flow in that long-term rental is gone. Short-term rentals are going to give you that runway to keep building up cash from the beginning to then figure out what you want to do next. Do you want another short-term rental? Do you want to get a long-term rental to supplement the short-term rentals? That cash flow is king when you're trying to build a real estate investing empire, or even if you're trying to just build a nice, comfortable portfolio for yourself. Myth 2, any cute house will print money. No, like I mentioned earlier, the middle is dying. Generic loses. Properties that are winning in 2026 have a clear identity. If you can't look at your property and tell me exactly who this stay was built for, you don't really have a property worth sharing. Myth 3, saturation means the window has closed. It's actually the opposite. Saturation is just a filter and shows that there is demand and more things in that market to make it viable for the top percent. You see a million restaurants pop up. You see a million coffee shops pop up. You see a million landscapers pop up and roofers and any business you can think of. And there's always the cream of the crop that rise and do well in business. And there's always the stragglers that are complaining that nobody is helping them out and they can't make any money. That can happen in Airbnb as well. And the top percentage of people is going to work. Look around on your local Facebook group. I guarantee you there's a lot of saturation pretty much in any type of business that you can think of. The real operators are continuously winning. Myth 4, you need to be in the classic vacation rental markets to truly win. My properties are all 60 minutes or less from major metro hubs like Houston and Austin. Not the Smoky Mountains, not Scottsdale, places that I know that have drive-to demand. And if I build the experience with the right amenities and the right regional attractions or state attractions near it, there's going to be a constant flow of people that are wanting to stay in my places. All right, so we made it through the myths. I talked about what doesn't work, but let's talk about what actually works. Here are the 6 steps, and I want you to write these down or come back to this video later and go through it again. Hit that like button and that subscribe while you're at it. But this is how we're going to do it. Step 1 is figure out if you're actually cut for all of this. And I mean, honestly, I hate responding to a guest text at 10 p.m. to tell them how to turn on the fire pit or where the trash bags are. But now I've set up operations and things to counteract that it doesn't bother me as much anymore. If you don't want to be on call or you hate systems and you hate operations and you hate delegating out tasks and trusting other people with your business, this is going to be a tough one to swallow. Short-term rentals reward people that are operator-minded, detail-oriented, and hospitality-focused. The people who burn out are the ones that hate systems and never want to build them out. If that doesn't sound like you and it doesn't sound like anything you'd actually want to be involved in, then again, this might not be for you. But if you're ready to put in and be a true business operator that likes systems and delegating out tasks with a mix of hospitality, you might be going down the right path now. Step 2 is choosing your path. There are 4 main ways to get into this business. Buying a property is where I would point most people, probably in your situation if you have one or no properties right now. And this is the way that you can truly start to build some long-term wealth. You control the asset. You learn a lot in the process of what a good management company involves and what it actually would take if you ever decide to delegate out to a manager, which I don't recommend when you first start. Self-managing with all the softwares that are out there now is actually pretty easy compared to what it used to be. The next way is co-hosting. This is when you manage somebody's property on Airbnb and you basically help them run the property management side of it. Now, you need to check your local rules, state rules about collecting money and all those things like that, which I'm not going to go into. And if you have questions, let me know in the comments. But co-hosting is the word that Airbnb coined, that basically you'll have an owner and then you can help manage that property for them. There's no cash that you really have to put up front, but it's a lot harder to convince owners to let you manage their property when you have no experience yourself. So there's a give and take to all of them. I've definitely seen it done a bunch of times where people have no management experience and they're able to start co-hosting because they're watching channels like this, they're learning, and they're also just excited to push along the hospitality operator mindset that they have. It's tough to find the investors that you need or owners that you need to let you co-host the property. But they're out there if you're a good salesperson and can talk to them. The third option is arbitrage. This is when you find a rental, a long-term rental perhaps that could fit a short-term rental vibe. You rent the property, you sublease it and tell the landlord what you're doing. Don't hide it. There's ways to convince them and talk about the benefits of it. And then you put that on Airbnb. A little more cash up front to start, but you don't have to have experience necessarily. It depends on the landlord that you're convincing, but you also don't need the cash to go put down a massive down payment. You're still going to need the money up front though, because you're going to have to furnish it and add some things in there. But this is kind of the mid of co-hosting and buying a property. And then the last route is the unique stay, experiential stay route too. There's, it kind of fits in with buying a property, but there's a lot more to it. This is kind of the route I went after I tried the, simple condos in a downtown metro area and didn't like where I saw it going. I went the unique stay route and I built out commercial real estate now. And we have 2 different pieces of land that have tripled in value from what we've done to build it out. A lot more cash intensive, a lot more work intensive, but a much higher upside on equity and wealth that you're building with this type of strategy. For most people watching this who want to buy their first STR, start with one property in a market you understand and like traveling to. Hopefully it's something you can get some lifestyle benefits out of as well with your family visiting. You'll get tax benefits, debt pay down, cash flow, appreciation, all these different things that really truly move the needle for you in growing wealth when you're buying a property and operating it like an asset that truly cash flows. Now we're moving on to step 3, market and deal selection. This is where most beginners get it wrong. You have to understand what the STR premium looks like in your target market, meaning what does this property earn on Airbnb versus what does it earn as a long-term rental? You can use tools like AirDNA to give you a pretty good idea, but that number you get from AirDNA isn't going to be the end-all be-all for numbers. I've been projected at $25,000 for some properties and we ended up making $100,000 on it. But I would say generic ballpark average, it's going to give you a pretty good idea on AirDNA what you could possibly make. Then you need to look at what you can actually make as a long-term rental and compare the two. If you're not making drastically more money, and I'd say drastically 3x possibly compared to the long-term rental, you're probably going to be disappointed when you pay all these cleaning fees and taxes and all these other things that go with running the short-term rental side of it. But if you hit it gold with the right type of property in the right place, the cash flow will tremendously outweigh anything you could do on the long-term side. And you also need to understand the regulatory environment that we talked about earlier in this market you're looking in. Make sure you can get permits, work with a qualified short-term rental real estate agent to know if this area or neighborhood is truly one that would work with what you're trying to do and has the demand. When I'm looking at new places to see if this market even has any viability, I have something called the 60-30-10 rule, which is 60 minutes from a major metro city and 500,000 plus, and even better if you have multiple cities within a couple hours, 30 minutes from a state, regional, or national attraction. National parks are amazing, but they also have a higher point of entry. Don't forget that state parks and lakes and things like that get usually consistent year-round travel from those major metro hubs. So you have 2 ways to bring in people: your own marketing with a unique place or something that actually speaks to people, and the travelers that are coming out there year-round to go visit this regional or state attraction. And then the 10 is just 10 minutes from civilization, gas station, Dollar General, something like that, because guests don't want to be in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And it's also way harder for your cleaners to get out there, handy people, package deliveries, the works. So this has become a framework that I kind of loosely use anytime I'm helping people look at a property or a new market to decide if there's even viability for that one to become something. Don't get emotionally attached to a property and walk away from an area if you just truly don't believe in it and you don't see the potential there for it. Step 4 is setting up so that you actually get booked. In 2026, your photography has to stop the scroll, and it's mandatory to have professional photography now. That means hiring a photographer, staging the place intentionally for short-term rentals, and designing it for short-term rentals. And when I say designing it for short-term rentals, that means the amenities have to match. Hot tubs are almost a no-brainer in every market. As long as you're able to operate it properly, a hot tub will pay for itself pretty much in any market you do within the first year, I would say. But you need to decide who your avatar is, though, even outside of the hot tub. If you're going after families, design the place for families. If you're going after couples, design the place for couples and what they would want to see in the unit. Your property needs a story. What is it? Who is it for? And why does it exist? If you can't answer those questions, you need to work on that story for it. Now we're on to step 5, systems from day one. Even if you have one property, start these early because it's way easier when you have less to set these up than it is when you start adding a bunch down the line. You won't be able to scale or enjoy your business just running one unit with no systems. If that's all you want, maybe some of them can fall to the wayside. But if you're truly trying to add a few properties and build this into a real estate hospitality business, start with systems from day one. Dynamic pricing, reliable cleaners and handyman conversations and communication, making sure your guests have all the information they need and it's automated the best you can so you don't have to manually send messages, and a million other things we can talk about. But I really want to get the word systems in your head because those are what are going to truly build this out to be as passive as it possibly can be. I work a full-time job and have 23 units that I manage with a few virtual assistants helping me. And because of all the automations and software we use, I probably spend 10 hours a week on my properties. And the last one is step 6, avoid the year one killers. There are 4 things that take people out in the first year. Bad financing, buying a place at the wrong price point, putting in money in the wrong places, not having cash reserves to truly build it out or know how much it's going to cost to design, over furnishing the property and not furnishing it properly, ignoring your short-term rental regulations before it's too late and just figuring you're going to get a pass. That will cut you down very quickly. And then underestimating how much work it's going to take in the first 90 days to truly get the ball rolling on this and setting yourself up so that way it becomes a fine-tuned machine. The learning curve is real. Build margin into your expectations with time, money, and energy, and you'll be prepared to take it all on, and don't underestimate it. People who are going to win in 2026 and beyond are operator-minded. They treat it like a real business, not a side hustle that just runs itself and is fully passive. They enjoy creating great guest experiences. They build systems, they track their numbers, they iterate on what's not working, and they understand that the cash flow upside is the reward for doing all of this. That's the trade. It's the least passive form of real estate investing, but it also has the highest potential to make the most cash flow and money for almost anyone in this. So here's what I want to leave you with. You now have a clearer picture of what the business of Airbnb or short-term rentals in 2026 looks like. Now that you're prepared, let me know in the comments what questions you may have or what videos you want me to cover to expand on any of these topics going forward so I know how I can help you out while you're starting this Airbnb journey in 2026. And I can't wait to see everybody's progress. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next. Hit that subscribe button. And as always, I appreciate y'all watching all the way through. And I think YouTube wants you to watch one of these videos here. See y'all in the next one.